Today's show, the Dallas Mavericks get another win against the Sacramento Kings, sweep them in Sacramento. What does this win mean for the Mavericks and how they get it done? We'll talk about all that and more. They're making us feel some things on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
10 Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we let it ride. Thanks for being part of the show and making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. With the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day on any podcast platform you get it. Leave a 5-star review, like the video, comment anything below, and then go comment on Locked On Kings. Love you, Matt George. Today is going to be fun. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. And joining me, as always, on the post game, what you got for me? Slightly biased.
I want all the YouTube fans to see this. This right
Flex
here
on them.
is blood, sweat, and tears. I'm literally on the court with them. That's what it
No
feels like
zone,
sometimes.
flex. No zone, flex.
I was showing my pit stains for the
Okay.
audio-only listeners.
There you go. The audio experience of your pits was not as good as the video.
Yeah. They dried up a little bit.
The Mavs get a win, 107-103. Completely different win than they got the first time they played the Kings. Oh my gosh, we'll talk about that. Kyrie Irving in the fourth quarter, nails. We'll talk about X gonna give it to you. We'll talk about PJ Washington's very different halves that he had. We'll talk about this team making us feel some things.
They are.
But first, we gotta start with Luka Doncic. There's a stat about Luka Doncic, and if there's one stat about Luka, there's a million stats about Luka. But there's one stat about Luka Doncic that I just discovered that is really blowing my mind right now. Luka Doncic's season low in field goal attempts this season is 14. 14 shots, season low. And you're like, oh, what would have happened for Luka in this MVP-esque season to take 14 shots? Well, it happened 2 times. One, the win against the Thunder when PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford got added to the team. Amazing. Team win. Everybody feeling good. Luka throwing passes everywhere. Everybody feeling awesome. Beat a good team. Awesome.
Probably didn't play the fourth.
The other one is tonight. 14 shot attempts for Luka Doncic. He only had to score 28 points in the first game and 26 points in the second game. The Mavs find a way to win again. This is a brand new Mavericks team.
Yeah, no. And it was the same thing. They sent 2 at Luka constantly.
Yes, so much.
It just made the ball movement by the Mavs tonight. This was why early in the game, it was what it was. I was tweeting this out. It's just like, you got to make shots. You're getting the looks you want. The ball's moving. You're getting into the paint. They moved the ball incredibly well. It just felt like another one of these games for the Mavs where it was like, oh, well, here we go. They're going to have to win. Shooting 19% from 3, 22%
it was a Magnets
from 3.
game.
Yeah, it felt like it. Like it was like, oh, PJ, he's following his shot the moment he shoots it. Like, this isn't looking good. They end the game. I can't believe this. They end the game 42% from 3.
I know.
Because they shot 7 of 11 from 3 in the fourth. That is insanity to me, man. They made
literally
15 threes all game.
7 of 11 from 3 is quite literally what the Cavs did to the Mavs in the Max Strus game.
Oh, is that really?
Yeah, I think it was 7 of 10 for them, but still, like, that's the feeling. And Mavs in the second half go 10 of 18.
Yeah.
I said yesterday on the show, the Mavs can be title contenders. One of the things that could hold them back is their shooting. But they just have to make timely shots. And you know who made timely shots? Dante Exum. He makes 2 shots the whole game. 2 shots the whole game. Do you know what the 2 shots were? 6:51 in the fourth quarter to tie the game for like the first time in forever.
Yeah.
And then 27 seconds to basically win the game off of the PJ Washington kick out to him.
Dude.
2 shots Dante Exum made. 2!
That might have been my favorite moment of the season so far. Like, I know we're riding an emotional high right now, but think about this. So if you didn't watch this game and you're just listening, you have to understand, Kyrie Irving took this game. We're going to talk about him in a bit. Took this game to another level in the fourth quarter. I mean, just like an unbelievable performance by him, even by his standards, like unbelievable. Dante, the King said, all right, no Luca, no Kyrie. We do not care. We will leave one player on this court completely unguarded. And it was Exum, who 3 straight possessions late in the game, after it was tied, missed 3 straight shots, 2 wide open threes. And then I thought a really good drive and a good take. He just missed the layup.
Yeah.
3 straight. And then what does he do? The next possession, shoots a wide open 3 and hits it. And the bench just went crazy. Like, you could just see how happy everybody was for him. That's the type of basketball player you want on your team right there.
Luca grabs him on the bench, holds his head into his chest, and just like celebrates him. You can just tell that Luca was so stoked about that. Luca loves when anybody hits a 3, and especially when somebody else does something that's not him. He's like,
plus, I mean, if you've played, true. But if you've played sports and it's just like you have that one guy on your team that's just, works his ass off and is just struggling a little bit, but then does that one thing, and it's just like this. Everyone is just super excited for him. And that's anytime Exum does anything, it feels like that's the reaction that he gets.
Tim Cato pointed this out on Twitter and said, I literally don't know where the Mavericks would be without Dante Exum this season. I think they legitimately would not have like 3 or 4 wins, which is huge in the NBA, like massive in the NBA. But you think about the Lakers game where he hit 7 threes. You think about this game where he hits those 2 big threes and plays well. You think about that stretch when Kyrie was out, when Exum had like a bunch of 20-point games in December. I mean, the Mavs won 4 games in that stretch, and if they don't win some of those games, then maybe they're not in this position right now. And we have to remind everybody where Exum came from. So Exum was high draft pick, was the 5th pick in like the 2013 or 14 draft, and was dealt with injuries, was not a good shooter in the NBA before, goes overseas to Europe, gets thrown on the ground by Gershon Yabusele in the EuroLeague final, but becomes a really good shooter in the EuroLeague. Like, went in, put in the work, became like a 40% three-point shooter in the EuroLeague. And the Mavs bring him over, and then he slowly but surely has built into this role, then gets hurt, and then he's out for forever. And now he's back, and the Mavs are like, all right, we don't want to, this guy is so important for us. He is exactly what we're missing in some of these key areas. Ball handling, like point of attack defense, can hit an open shot, and all that. And then they're like, all right, well, we don't want to just overextend him. So they only play him like 19, 20 minutes. But they're some of the most important minutes the Mavericks have. And he proved why in this game. I mean, just absolutely 2 huge, massive shots for Dante Exum. And Mavs get the win. And I want to give credit to PJ Washington in this whole thing too, because PJ Washington had the pass to kick out to him. And he had 2 completely different halves in this game.
Yeah, no, he definitely did. I mean, I'm just looking at it right now. He had the second best plus minus in the second half, plus 15. And in the first half, I mean, plus minus is a wonky stat, but had the worst plus minus at minus 18 with 1 point on 0 of 6 shooting. And it was like, oh, here we go. Like, PJ Washington's having another one of these. And it felt like all of the progress maybe that we were making. Because even his shots, like he was doing that thing where he shot and immediately sprinted towards the rim. And you're like, oh God.
Shoot, I got to go get this.
Yeah, that's not where you want a shooter to be, where he's like, I need to chase this rebound now. And the moment the ball leaves his hand. But
it looked like, have you seen those Dude Perfect videos where they pretend to throw the ball over the building and then Ty throws the ball up and he's got to go run and catch it himself?
I'm not gonna lie. I have not watched too many. I was actually taken aback last year when I learned they were Dallas people.
Yeah, they're in Frisco.
I found that out. I was like,
they were hanging out with your boys Ben and Skin today at the Roller Town unveiling.
Oh, nice. Hey, shout out to Ben and Skin. Love you guys.
Yeah, love them.
But no, Dude Perfect. You want to have me on? I could hit some crazy shots. Been practicing.
Luca's been on there.
Yeah, I know that's crazy. Maybe they can get in contact with Luca.
But anyway, the Dude Perfect reference was lost on you completely.
Yeah, a little bit. No, I was just nodding my head.
That's fine. It'll hit with the majority of our audience, I think.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I know our demographic.
But I'm just like, yeah, that's exactly what it's like.
Somebody's in the car with their kids like, oh, did you hear that? We watch Dude Perfect all the time together. You know exactly what Slightly doesn't know about Dude Perfect. We got to tell Slightly about Dude Perfect.
Yeah, my bad.
Oh, my gosh. Amazing. But PJ Washington hit 2 huge threes in the second half, too. Every 3 felt huge because the Mavs shot so poorly in the first half that it felt like every 3 was just massive to try and turn the momentum around. Coming up, let's talk about how the Mavs got this win. How did they kind of like hang onto the rope, not let go, and then end up pulling out this win in the clutch again? Talk about that and more coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience. It's what Dante Exum has, and it's what brings home the winning trophy and keeps your ride or die alive. Everyone's got a car. It's got parts. It's got parts you need to replace. Do you have a supercharger, a roof rack, an exhaust kit, an LED headlight, or more that needs to be replaced or needs to be added to your car? eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts to choose from. You'll find exactly what you're looking for in eBay Guaranteed Fit. Your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you burn a rubber, not cash. Locked On Pelicans host Jake Madison actually uses this all the time for his cars. He fixes up old cars. He does a lot of stuff with that. And he uses eBay Motors, and it saved him. He needed a part. He couldn't get it near him, and he got a part from eBay Motors. Eligible item, keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. We appreciate each and every one of you for stepping up and listening to the show, joining us and letting it ride. By the way, go to Locked On Kings and just put Go Mavs in the... Or, no, don't do Go Mavs. Just do We're Fine. That's it. Just We're Fine in the comment section. It's a reference to our crossover the other day. Just do We're Fine.
I feel for them. We were there last year with those soul-crushing losses down the stretch.
100%. But Matt George talked enough crap on our crossover that I'm
all right.
I'm comfortable doing it. Just say We're Fine in the comment section. That's all. And that would be amazing. All right, Slightly. The Mavs. First half, not going to lie, had me in the first half for a little bit. And I was like, ooh, this Mavs team is not playing that well. Bad mistakes. The offense looked terrible. They were making terrible live ball turnovers. First quarter, Mavs allowed 18 points in the paint to the Kings. And what's been my big thing, the magic number, Mavs hold the Kings to under 45 points in the paint would be massive. They do. They hold them to 42 points in the paint, which the magic number reigns true. But first quarter did not feel like the Mavs were doing that great. Second quarter, you felt like that. And then second quarter, only allowed 22 points. Fourth quarter, only allowed 21 points. This Mavs defense, somebody else pointed out to me, like you keep saying the Mavs defense needs to heat up. The Mavs have a microwave defense.
They do, yeah.
They heat up as the game goes on.
It's because they play physical defense that wears on you as the game goes on. And then it is like, it's the same thing as like a 3-point shooter. You start to see some threes go in. It's like, all right, you start to get your hands in some, driving lanes, some hands in some passing lanes, and you start to knock some balls loose and you start to block some shots, and you're flexing and the bench is going crazy and you're looking Sabonis dead in the eye and you said, I absorbed every elbow you just threw at my throat. All right. I ate all of them. And you're not going to the free throw line. I mean, that it does feel that way. Because even in nights, because we've said before, it's like, oh, well, the Mavs make shots, their defense is much better. They still weren't making shots until the fourth quarter, and their defense clamped. It really was like halfway through the first quarter even. Because it felt like the Kings' game plan was like, all right, Harrison Barnes, just sprint into the paint. They will not expect it. And to their credit, the Mavs were like,
De'Aaron Fox looks up from the huddle and goes, Coach, did you say, all right, and you started with Harrison Barnes? Like
That's right. Harrison Barnes run into the paint. Because what did Harrison Barnes have in the first quarter? He had 11 and Keon Ellis had 11. So they were beating you with those two guys, basically. Keon Ellis had 3 threes. Harrison Barnes was just...
Fox had 2 points in the first quarter.
Yeah, Harrison Barnes had 5 points, or 11 points on 5 made field goals. He was just, all of his shots he was sprinting to the rim. And then I think the Mavs were like, wait, is this what we're doing tonight?
Well, because in the first half, this was really bothering me. And I sent it to all the subtexters. If you want to get more content, subscribe to the subtext. I'll do a watch back tonight. What was frustrating me is the Kings were hunting Luca. Like they were trying to get every single switch. Luca's man comes up and sets the screen. A lot of times it was Harrison Barnes. And so Harrison Barnes would come up and set the screen. And then all of a sudden, every single Luca switch was late, or there was miscommunication, or there's some kind of confusion between it. And it felt late. It felt like every open shot the Kings got was because Luca was chasing the play, or because somebody was open because Luca and Gafford, or Luca and Lively, or Luca and whoever were just like staring at the guy going, weren't you supposed to take him? And Luca was like,
yeah,
my knee hurts. It's not an excuse for not telling me that I need to go out there. But the defense, that felt frustrating. But the Mavs, they picked it up. They warmed up, got into the game, and man, like this team this is a completely different team. This is a good defensive team now. Because you can't even look at the season. Like, what are they for the season? They were like 20th recently. You can't look at that anymore. You can't look at this like there's a completely different team than they were before. They're 19. They're up to 19th now. 116 points per 100 possessions
for the
season. that number doesn't matter because
No, I know, but I'm saying
if
you said before the season they'd be the 19th best defense, you say, okay, deal. We'll take it. Grant Williams been clamping up, huh?
But if you go since February 5th, like right around when the trades happened and the Mavs started winning these games, they're 7th.
And that number's even misleading.
They're better than that?
Well, I mean, that number is bogged down by that really, which is now just a complete. It feels like a complete total anomaly.
The Cavs game, and,
like that 5-game stretch where they were the worst defense in the league again, and it was like, what am I?
Where I told him to fire the coach.
Yes, we came on here like, yeah, kid's done. Here we go again. That feels like that was 3 years ago.
It does. And I'll admit, the Mavs have fixed all the things that I was frustrated about. I should have couched it and said, unless they change these things, then kid should be done.
No,
and I knew they weren't going to get rid of him anyway, but hey,
we got to be emotional, and we got to tell it how we feel on these shows. That's why people come here.
That's how I felt.
That's how I felt too. I was like, you know what? You guys are right. Fire him tomorrow. I don't care anymore. But no, I've seen people who have, like, if you just take out that chunk, which is a stupid thing to do, but there was a 7-game win streak before that, then that chunk, and then it's 10-1 in your last 11 since then. That's just who this team is. They play good defense, and it's just when you get to the paint now, you have a shot blocker in the paint no matter what, and that's Gafford, that's Lively, and they're both great at blocking shots and contesting shots. But then it's Derek Jones Jr. is maybe, in the gap and helping, and he's a long, lengthy defender. PJ Washington's helping. He's a long, lengthy defender. Luca's a long, lengthy defender.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden you have all these hands and all these guys, and it's a completely different situation.
It completely is. And it's so different than what we've seen in the past. So you've got to recalibrate what you think this team is. Even when they weren't hitting their threes, that didn't even bother me that much. It's like, all right, well, we've got to learn a different way for this Mavs team to win, because remember, this Mavs team is 6-1 and they shoot under 32% from three.
That's crazy. That's the craziest stat about all this.
They shot 40. They ended up shooting 42% in this game, which is wild because of how well they shot late in the game. But their 3-point shooting, they hit them in the right spots in the right moments in this game. And that was absolutely massive. But yeah, the two different halves from like a PJ Washington and some of the other players just really stood out, and how they felt like they warmed up into the game. And give the Mavs a ton of credit for taking the blow from the beginning. The Kings came out with so much energy, so much force, so much determination. They went up 14-27, like a real early 13-point lead, and you go, man, just feel 7-0 to start. And then it was
start with 2 live ball turnovers. Those are your first 2 possessions.
Yeah. Then Luca falls down and falls on Monk. Monk is out for the game. It's tough. That was a real tough one for the Kings too. Kevin Huerter out for the season. Now Malik Monk. They were playing Kessler Edwards, who actually played pretty well for them. Hit 3 threes.
Yeah.
But really tough one for them. They just the Kings are just falling left and right.
Yeah. The Monk injury is brutal.
And then you get a little bit of a run at the end here, and man, the Mavs just stuck with it and like kept clawing back, and then eventually, second half. Right before the second half, Luka Doncic goes down. 36 seconds left in the second quarter. He's holding his back of his right knee, and then he goes out. He takes a drive and with it.
Well, did you see Kid's quote?
Yeah, that he didn't see that he was limping.
He's like, oh, that's just how he walks.
At least he didn't say like a crip walk or something. Yeah. But then Luka goes into halftime and he's limping into the locker room. And Matt George says that he saw him kick a chair with his left leg on the way in. And there's a video out there. He said it was with his left leg, so we're glad that it was that. But the left leg is the one that he was questionable with the Achilles soreness before this. I mean, it was just one of those, and you got to give Luka credit for fighting, for coming back. He didn't have the greatest shooting game at all. Second half, what was he? Second half, he was 3 of 7. Imagine a game in the second half where Luka only hits 3 shots in the Mavs.
13 points though on 7 shots. We'll gladly take that.
He got to the free throw line, and he only missed the one late in the second half. Got 6 assists, but Luka fought in this game for sure.
Man, he's been a warrior lately because, I mean, this is huge. I think this is huge for his MVP argument. Like, if I'm making propaganda, which I will be very shortly, I'm pushing these 2 games as Dude, this guy, if you watch that game, Luca, to Kid's point, it usually does. He hobbles around. He does the classic, like, miss a shot, just like, oh,
he,
God. Like,
he didn't want to say Luca boo-boo. That's what I've called them. But
yeah,
he's like, man, it was probably a Luca boo.
But I think watching the last game, it's clear that he's maybe a little bit more hurt than he usually would be. And he goes out, last game, drops 26 points in the first half, only 2 in the second half, but they didn't need him. His shot making in the first half of the last Kings game is what allowed the Mavericks to be in the position they were in at halftime.
Yeah.
And then tonight, he put on a playmaking clinic. Like, he had, 12 assists? Could have easily had more. They found the open shooter each time. And this offense is just playing so well that it's not just, it feels like in the past, it was if Luka was passing to you, it was to shoot. Like, the entire offense was, Luka, you're going to either generate a shot for yourself or it's going to be a kick out to a shooter. And that's going to be the immediate shot. The ball just moves so much more on this team now, it feels like, where guys are getting into the paint and then we're kicking out and then that guy's getting into the paint and then he's kicking out and then that guy's getting into the paint. Luka had a catch and shoot 3 in this game off of a Kyrie pass. That was just beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's
yeah,
really,
that one
really
where they swung the ball like all the way around the perimeter and he was at the top of the key. That was a great play. But yeah, just think about time of possession with Luka. It's got to be I haven't looked it up lately, but it's got to be way less with this team because even the game winning play to Exum, Luka got doubled super hard right at half court. He has to throw the ball to PJ Washington. Then PJ Washington takes a dribble, makes a decision, kicks it over to Exum, and it's like he's making the play and not Luka. They're trying to get the ball out of Luka's hands, and other guys can make plays. Mm-hmm. Kyrie, 14 points in the fourth quarter, by the way. They just updated. They took away a 2 from him.
Did they really? Did we say 16?
This site that I use that automatically does the like quarters is wrong. Every once in a while it's wrong on some stuff, and then it updates it.
I mean, Kyrie was unbelievable. We said this the last game when he hits that transition pull-up 3 and that goes. He hit one of those early in the fourth quarter when the Mavs, I think, were still down by like 6 or 9 or something like that. He hit it and it was like, uh-oh. Like when he's making that pull-up 3 in transition, it is like oh God. Like what's about to happen here? Like that's like one of the toughest shots you can shoot. And he's making that and it's just like, uh-oh. Something's
Kyrie, by the way, missed 1 shot in the fourth quarter. The free throw, one of the free throws on when he got fouled from 3.
Terrible foul. The Kings played some really bad basketball down the stretch of this game.
Can we talk about Harrison Barnes for a second?
Dude, that was unthinkably bad.
Harrison Barnes scores 11 points in the first quarter, and we were like, oh man, like Harrison Barnes really stepping up. Like, good for him. Love HB. Like, of course, his time in Dallas and all that. Great guy, all that. Really wanted to go to Sacramento. And man, he had some brutal plays in the second half, and including that turnover. He misses a 3. Sacramento gets the offensive rebound, and then he throws the ball back to Fox, and Fox isn't looking, and so the ball goes in the backcourt with then 8 seconds left, and that basically sealed the game at that point. He also at the 3-minute and 34-second mark, he had a bad pass, and PJ got the steal, and Exum threw it up to Gafford. Mavs took the lead 101-98. Harrison Barnes had some awful plays at the end of this game, and I don't know.
Turnover.
I think there's a possibility that like the Cuban is still like paying him in some way.
It's possible. They're like, hey,
just
listen,
sold.
man,
Just sold.
we're gonna trade for you in the offseason. Like, you can be a part of the banner night if you want.
Listen, we're gonna lose. Yeah. we're gonna lose Derek. We're gonna lose Derek Jones Jr., but we'll pay you.
I think they could keep Derek Jones Jr.
Oh, they can. I'm done.
That's a different conversation for a different day. But no,
that was a completely hypothetical.
Yeah. I got
Mark Cuban tampering to Harrison Barnes to say that he's going to go over.
But even that Harrison Barnes turnover, he was driving into the paint. The paint was completely blocked off and clogged, and he got caught in the air, and there was nowhere to throw it. So that was even more great Mavs defense.
How many times have we seen a Harrison Barnes? I hate the word. We're crapping on him so much, but how many times have we seen a Harrison Barnes 40 minutes, 20 points, 19 shots, 2 assists, 3 turnovers? Like how many times have we seen that line though in Dallas?
19 shots is kind of crazy.
Yeah,
but I mean, it was like it looked like it was their game plan though. I don't know how much we can bash him because it was literally like you said earlier. All right, Harrison, Luke is going to be on you. You're going to spend the bulk of this game shooting.
You're going to be
driving to the rim, and it worked at first, and then it did not. It did not work. I felt like he was like, I don't know, baiting for fouls quite a lot too. A lot of his drives are really out of control.
The bad pass one at 3:30 left in the fourth quarter, they drove into the lane and then he was like in a shot motion and then jump spun past in midair because he couldn't get the shot off. And you're like, what was your intention? You're gonna take a driving running jumper? Like,
well, the Mavs adjusted because he had. I think we talked about this. He has a sneaky good slow step. Like I've always thought that. Like when he gets to that spot, he's pretty tactful with that slow step. And it was burning the Mavs a little bit early on where they would jump a little bit too early. But they adjusted to it. I mean, this is a complete. If you watch this basketball team compared to this team in like late January, you would think 3 seasons had passed, and they had like slowly rebuilt the team through the draft.
Where did Josh Green go?
Yeah. It's like, wait, Grant Williams isn't on this team anymore? No, he's gone.
Where's the guy that talked all the time? Isn't Jaden Hardy on this team?
Last season, you're like, wait, JaVale McGee, is he injured? No.
Oh my God. We didn't even see JaVale McGee in this game. Okay, can we talk about the funniest moment of this game?
What was that?
40 seconds left in the third quarter. Luka's left knee. He's bleeding through his knee pad. They see blood. And in the NBA, because of the Magic Johnson stuff, if you see blood, you immediately have to go to the bench and get it like covered up and taped up and stuff, and stop the bleeding. Like that's part of the thing is to stop the bleeding. So he's got it. He's bleeding through his knee pad, and there's like a they didn't really take a real timeout. He walks over to the bench and they just tape over the knee pad, and then he just walks right back out. Well,
I didn't know you had to. I guess now that I'm thinking about it, I do remember like certain games they would stop play because there would be blood on a jersey, and
you gotta stop immediately, and you gotta stop.
What are those
the blood.
Tide pins? They had those little Tide pins.
It's like this. It's like this goo that just like hardens real quick. It's like a glue, honestly, and they glue they glue you up.
You can get stains out with those. I think I'm going to a dinner or something.
No, I'm saying like when it makes stains.
Well, I'm saying like
it's more like that.
There's like blood on a jersey, and they stop play to like get it off the jersey, and they have a little Tide pin. I don't know if it's a Tide pin or not.
The Tide pin has nothing to do with it.
No, we're just rambling at this point.
No, but it was funny to me that they just covered it with tape. He's still bleeding, like under the pad. He's still. They didn't do anything to his knee. But
I drank a beer on an empty stomach. I'm sorry, guys.
One.
Yeah, I've reached that age where I have like one beer. I'm like, whoa, am I gonna be hungover tomorrow morning?
Oh my!
Do I need to drink a Pedialyte now?
But what's that product that like you drink it before you go out drinking and then you don't get a hangover? I've heard it on podcasts before.
I think Pedialyte, they've completely rebranded. I actually really respect what they've done.
Things you never thought you'd hear someone say. Jason Kidd wins another challenge. They're like, Jason Kidd only takes the challenges he knows he 100% is going to get.
Well, that was an incredible block by Gafford.
Yeah. Gafford block at 9:30 in the third quarter. Was it Keon Ellis was flying up there? Oh, Keegan Murray. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The Keon Ellis one was the one on Kyrie where he hits his forearm like just slightly. I didn't think that in real time. I didn't think that was a foul. And then
no, I didn't. The angle they showed on the broadcast, I didn't think it was. But then they showed the angle coming back, and he clearly hit his wrist. Like that was
that angle was awesome. Shout out to I don't know WFAA, whoever got that angle where it's literally like right on Kyrie from the opposite side of the court. Amazing. That was great. God, this game.
What a win!
Okay,
man.
So now the Mavs get this win. They're 2 games up on the Kings now, functionally, and they have two games, and they're tied 2-2 with a tiebreaker between them. And then if you go to conference record, Mavs are 28-19, Kings are 27-19. So the Mavs are a half game better than them conference record right now.
Yeah, and the Kings got some tough conference games to close things out.
Suns lose tonight to the Thunder without SGA, so shout out to them. They make no sense. They beat the Nuggets 0. And then they lost to the Thunder without SGA. So the Mavs are a game and a half above them with the tiebreaker as well. So basically, they're basically 2 games up on both Sacramento and the Suns.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And this is why I say throw out strength of schedule. Suns, the Nuggets without Jamal Murray, the Thunder without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So that daunting 10-game stretch starts off with a team either missing their best player or their second best player. Could be misleading.
Oh, for sure. But it's more like, oh, this could be like this.
Yeah, true.
Mavs schedule coming up. They got the streaking Houston Rockets.
Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the Pelican schedule. They've got a tough stretch.
Pelicans do?
Of games. Yeah, they've got the Celtics
we can
tomorrow. tomorrow/today. Then the Suns, which really either outcome is okay for the Mavs unless you think we're clear of the Suns and safe in that regard. And then Orlando, who's still good.
It depends on the Mavs Rockets game. What you want to happen for the Phoenix?
Well, I feel
Pelicans game,
I'm
right?
the way this team's playing. I'm looking at who's ahead of them. I mean, that's just. I mean, the way that they've been playing better than any other team in the West. Even the Nuggets have been like scuffling a little bit. I guess besides the Rockets.
But yeah, Pelicans. They do Celtics, Suns, Magic, and then the Spurs. Wemby just had a 40-20 game, and
they're not a rollover anymore.
And beat the Knicks and ever since the Pornhub ban.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Have you seen that? I did that on Locked On NBA last night with Mike Richmond.
I have seen that.
The Mavs and Rockets are now 13-0 since the Pornhub ban in Texas, and the Spurs, who've been terrible all year, are 4-3 now.
They're on a 3-game winning streak right now.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, that's
There's something to it. It's causation or causality.
Hey, it could be.
You never know. And then the Mavs are only 2 games back from the Clippers too, which is not.
They have won 2 in a row that they are incredibly lucky to have won. They are still not playing good basketball.
No, they're not. Those games were not well won. I'll say that. And Darian Baziri agrees with me.
Yeah,
on Locked On Clippers.
I mean, the Sixers game was a travesty.
Oh my gosh.
From the officiating point of view, an absolute travesty.
Locked On was talking.
Kelly Oubre.
Locked On is talking about like some kind of trip for the staff members. It's right in the middle of the conference finals, and I was like, I don't know if I can go to this.
Yeah, that's a nice flex right there. Yeah, guys, I think I'm gonna be busy.
It's like they're starting to make me think. But I tweeted this out at Nick Van Exit. Go look at the screenshots I tweeted of the Mavs schedule from like February to March this season and February to March in 2022. Just go look at it. Just go look at it side by side.
I mean, it really, nice. We talked about this before the show. If you polled like just neutral basketball observers, hey, power rank what looks like the Western Conference playoff teams right now, I guarantee you the majority of them have the Mavericks second behind the Nuggets. Like that's just the way that they've been playing. And everyone, you listen to anyone talk about the Mavs, it's like nobody wants to see Luca or Kyrie in a playoff series. Regardless, people were saying that last year. Where it's like, well, if they just get into the play-in tournament, you don't really want to see Luca and Kyrie, even though their team is dreadfully bad. You just don't want to see those two. Like those two could pop off at any given moment. And now you surround them with a good team.
Plus the Mavs are physical now. That now they're the team you're like, oh, we don't want to play that team because they hit you and they get rebounds and all that kind of stuff. 7 games. I can't believe we have not talked about this yet.
What?
So there's footage from Fox 40 in Sacramento.
Oh.
Luca hitting that free throw at the end. He waves goodbye to everybody, to all the Kings and all the fans and everything. And then it goes back to the Mavs bench and starts pointing back to Vlade Divac, who is the Kings, like president of basketball operations or GM. And he goes, he should have drafted me. Should have drafted me. Should have drafted me. Got to tell him that he should have drafted me. To all the Kings fans.
He's playing with a different level of dog.
Who were just ringing those cowbells the whole game, which...
I like that, actually.
I get it. It's your thing, but it's got to be so annoying as a player.
I think from what I could gather, because I was looking at that, I think they only give them to a handful of fans. Because it's only the fans like right along.
And you can't bring them in either.
Yeah, so I think that they like 20,000 cowbells would be something else. But like, I think it was just like the front row.
Even Christopher Walken would be like, that's too many cowbells.
There's too much cowbell.
Oh my gosh. Luca, the petty king.
He's playing with a different type of fire. I want to say this. I know we've been going live we've been on for a long time. Good. I want to say because I haven't mentioned it, but there's a reason we haven't mentioned it. He's been very good with officials. Very, very good lately.
Yeah, still whines, but like
right, but it doesn't get not detrimental to the team. It's not detrimental to the team in any way, shape, or form. So he's really channeling his energy. And now, like getting mad and petty with the team that could have drafted you. I mean, I love that. That is incredible.
That's what the NBA should be, honestly. Yeah. Like the personalities, it's at its best when Trae Young is going at the Knicks. When when Draymond doesn't care about the Rockets, and now they're about to play a game, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. Also, Luca wasn't so mad at the refs because the Mavs did get a lot of calls tonight.
Oh
like,
yeah.
I will admit that completely.
Oh, for
the
sure.
Mavs were more physical. They set their tone early, and now this is what this Mavs team can do. Is like, all right, we're gonna be physical early, so the refs let a lot of things slide, and then late in the game they tighten it up, and you're like, oh, now we got to call all these things.
Well, I'm wondering, I don't know if the stats back this up, but just from my eye test of these two Mavs games, if the change in direction the officiating has taken over the last month or so, where they're allowing defenses to be a little bit more physical, if that kind of hurts Sabonis' game just a tiny bit, because he is such a physical player that if you're not allowed to be physical back with him, it's going to be really hard to defend him. And the Mavs were incredibly physical with him in their two games, like very much so.
It's the Knicks Tom Thibodeau thing, where Tom Thibodeau plays his starters 40 minutes all the time. Look at Josh Hart. I looked up a stat the other day that players that have played 40 minutes and have scored less than 7 points, because Dinwiddie did it the other day for the Lakers, and I was curious. And like Josh Hart has 5 of the top of the 10 instances of a player playing like 40 minutes and scoring less than 10 points, because he plays his starters so much. So then you get to the playoffs when everybody does that, and you have no advantage. And like, I'm with you. I feel like that's what happens with Sabonis, is when it gets physical, like against the Warriors, it started to get physical in that series, and then he didn't have a next level to go to. He's it feels like he's maxing out what he can do at times. And he's great, great player and all that. Like, I don't know if you'd agree with that.
Good player.
But he's
Okay, I reserve great.
The way you just immediately were like,
I really not even trying to hate. I know it really comes off like that, but
borderline all NBA player.
yeah, I mean he's definitely gonna make All NBA.
Oh, he took it the next. I thought you.
Well, I don't know. Like if somebody said, I think I'm voting Wemby all NBA over Sabonis, I'd say actually I agree with you.
He scored 13 points and 12 points in these two games. Sabonis.
I mean, he's never been a big shot volume guy.
No.
But no,
you completely take his scoring away at all. Like,
yeah, because his playmaking is not. I just hate even. His playmaking is not at the level like you see high assist guys, and it's like they dictate games with their playmaking. That's just not the situation here. I mean, he's a hub for their offense, but it's not like he's going to pick you apart defensively with his passing, if that makes sense.
Harp on the broadcast called him, what do you call him? He called him, he's probably the best assist facilitator big. And I was like, wait, I had to like unpack it in my mind for a second. I was like, first of all, I think he completely forgot Jokic existed. But second, I think assist facilitator is such like a backhanded compliment to like
he gets a lot of assists.
He's not the assist facilitator.
That's the best way to describe it. He gets a lot of assists.
Yeah, I think I'm with Harp now. I think he is the best big assist facilitator, because Jokic makes things happen. He's not.
Exactly. I mean, Sabonis had 10 assists in this game, man.
What? I can't remember one pass.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not like really trying to blast them, but I'll see people talk crazy on Twitter. I'm like, guys, you don't like comparing him to other really great assisters, really great playmakers. I'm like, guys,
assist facilitator.
Yeah.
Mavs did the things they needed to. Held the Kings under 45 points in the paint. They contained De'Aaron Fox. That was another thing. He's only scored 23 in this game, even though he led the Kings. And they didn't win in the trenches though. That was another one of my things. I guess points in the paint they did, but fast break points, Kings 26, Mavs 10. But I think the Kings had 20 in the first half, so they only had 6.
It feels like
the
all
second.
of those were in the first.
They won that in the second for sure.
Yeah, they only allowed. I'm looking at it right now. They only allowed 6 fast break points in the second half. When this defense locks in, they're very good. It's a stupid thing to say, but it really comes down to that a lot of the time when they're playing with a lot of energy. And attention to detail.
The site says the Mavs only scored 8 points in the paint in the second half of this game. Is that right?
They shot a lot of free throws. 18 free throws in the second half for the Mavericks.
Yeah, 12.
They only made 17
free throws.
17 field goals and 10 of them are threes.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
And a few Kyrie minis.
The Mavs can win games in different ways. This is another way that the Mavs can win games. It's clutch. Come down to the Mavs are the best clutch team in the NBA.
And we've seen it now too. If they knock down their threes at a good clip, they're like actually playing like this. They're like actually unstoppable, unbeatable. It's funny because in the 11-game stretch, the one game they lost was one of like the few games where they shot well from three, but that was without Luca though. So I don't really even count that.
Kings, I was about to tweet this, and every once in a while I'm about to tweet something, and I'm like, I don't want to jinx the Mavs right here. starting to get superstitious.
I know. I know how you feel.
Kings were 11-9 at home in clutch games, and I was like, "Oh, it's coin toss." If the
I mean,
Mavs are gonna win
this was a good back and forth game. Like it was, the Kings just
Mavs took it.
Yeah, they took it. It was funny. Like the last 5 minutes, there was like a 3-minute stretch where there was trading baskets. Keegan Murray had some tough threes. Fox did some tough things. Kyrie was going crazy, and then there was like a 2-minute stretch where it was like neither team was making anything, and then Exum hit that three, and then the Kings just made a mess all over the court. I mean, that backcourt violation is one of the worst end of game things of the season.
Well, and it highlights the difference between the level the Mavs are playing at, where how coordinated they are together, and then the other side where the Kings are making that play, where the Mavs felt like Luca and Kyrie, they're clicking. How many times have we said this in games? They're clicking.
Yeah. And then
Fox gonna do.
Oh man, I don't even like trashing. Fox disappoints me a lot sometimes because I do think very highly of him as a player. There was like a possession late in this game where immediately out of a timeout, they run like a Spain pick and roll, or not a Spain pick and roll. Sorry, they run a horns. They run a set out of horns, and immediately Fox gets Gafford switched onto him. Immediately, we're like 4 or 5 seconds into the shot clock. Yeah. It ends in the possession ends in a terrible De'Aaron Fox contested jumper over PJ Washington because he had Gafford on him and then ran a pick with called for a screen for Sabonis with PJ Washington on him, and PJ Washington switches.
He's not getting an advantage with.
I'm like, what is this? What is like? Do you guys even know what you're doing right now? I mean, I don't know. They feel very discombobulated sometimes.
Yeah,
which is why I was saying earlier in the week, like you're a better team than them. Just come out and play your game.
It's wild because they feel like they're kind of a mess right now. The Suns feel like they're kind of a mess right now. Clippers feel like they're kind of a mess right now. Pelicans, I don't know if they're a mess, but they're
hurt. Their second best players hurt.
Sure. They're 7-3 in their last 10, but yeah, their second best players hurt. Man, everybody's. And then the Timberwolves and Thunder are winning games, but
shout out to the Timberwolves, man.
You and I were talking about MVP before this. I'm like, SGA or whoever and Jokic, and I was like, do you know that the Thunder and the Timberwolves only have 6 more wins than the Mavs right now?
That is kind of crazy.
7 more wins.
I mean, the Mavs, as it stands right now, like they should get to 50 wins. They take care of business easily. And that's kind of like...
They're at 44 right now. They need 6 more. Okay, let's go game by game and tell me which one they're going to win.
No, I definitely don't want to do that.
No, Isaac and I make fun of everybody when the schedule comes out at the beginning of the offseason, and everyone's like, let's go game by game and predict that. I'm like, please don't do that. Like,
that sounds like terrible content. I'm sorry.
Shout out to everybody that's listening that does a podcast that does it.
I'm sorry. Don't do that again.
Mavs have 2 games against Houston. Those will be tough. Those are not like cakewalk games anymore. At the middle of the season, it felt like, that's going to be those are easy ones. Golden State, you never know what you're going to get with them either.
Yeah.
2 games against them. Atlanta, they just beat the.
They're not playing bad basketball.
Just beat the Celtics. Charlotte,
they're
Detroit,
the worst team in the league currently.
Yeah, Charlotte, Detroit, you're feeling good about those. Miami. At Miami, that one's interesting. And then end of the season, OKC, who might not be playing for anything, but probably will. Yeah,
you just never know these end of the season games. You never know.
But they're not like the same as the Suns schedule.
Right. The Suns. I don't know if we said this on here. The Suns. I don't know. I think I was watching their Nuggets game and they were talking about on the broadcast. It was the toughest 10-game stretch. I don't know if it was the toughest 10-game stretch period or if it was the end of season. Since it's possible to even track that stat.
It has to be because it was Denver, OKC, New Orleans, Cleveland, Minnesota, New Orleans, the Clippers twice, Sacramento, and the Timberwolves.
That's just insane. I mean,
every team is above you in the standings,
and you already messed up because you lost to the Spurs.
The Spurs.
And tonight, I mean, you Shea, you need to win that game. I know
they
it's on the road.
Get close.
They got blown out. Giddy gamed them. Josh, he was the best player on the court in a game with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and Bradley Beal.
Booker scored 14 points in 27 minutes.
Yikes. Well, let's start talking bad about teams because we are just putting some energy into the universe.
This is what you do after games like this.
No, true.
And if the Mavs lose to those teams, then hey, good for them. Good for them.
This is about to be an hour-long episode.
Wow, it's weekend.
Locked on after dark.
It's a weekend. You get extra. You get bonus on this. Yeah. We'll leave it there though. Man, Mavs, big win. Which one was bigger? The first Kings win or this one?
I'm gonna say this one because, well, I mean, the first one was like almost a statement. Like, hey, we're here and we'll blow you out in a must-win game. This one was, you knew the Kings weren't just going to show up and die again. Like, you were going to get everything. You're going to get their best effort, and you absorbed it and then just thugged it out. Like, you did not play great for 3 quarters. You played great defense, but you just did enough to stay connected. And in the fourth quarter, your superstars did superstar things, and then your role players stepped up in major ways. So this one to me is more impressive. The first one is more like, oh, wow, this team, when they're clicking, is like, it feels like a juggernaut almost.
Yeah, it does.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and this one was more of like an impressive win in like clutch game, came down to it, had to make tough plays, had to gut it out. You got the Kings' best effort in that way. Kings were shooting really well from 3 for a while.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Man, there you go. Subscribe to the show, Apple, Spotify. Go check out Slightly Biased as well. Slightly Biased YouTube channel. Always link it in the description as well. Guys, let it ride in your own life. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom!